Shalom. So, Paul Vanderklay gave me a suggestion that apparently the one of the more popular Christian liturgical calendars um, that is actually apparently somewhat coordinated between Protestants and Catholics is what's called the Revised Common Lectionary. And this year it's a 3-year cycle, and this year we are year B, and apparently we're in the time of Advent. So Advent is a time of expectation before Christmas, and the so the lectionary apparently has 4 readings, and I'm saying apparently a lot because this is my first experience with this, and so we are approaching. Well, I'm not going to do December 6th because that might be a little too early to get the word out on this video. So I'm going to do the December 13th, 2020 reading, um, and that's going to be Isaiah 61. And so the readings don't do the full chapter, but I'm going to go ahead and do the full chapter. And then there's also a reading from the Psalms, and then one from the Greek Bible, and then one from the Gospels. So I'm going to go ahead and do the first reading, which is supposed to be the Old Testament, the Hebrew Bible, and I will do the full chapter. If anybody has further suggestions, requests, please let me know. So this is the Revised Common Lectionary calendar from Vanderbilt University, and there's apparently a lot more information available on this website, textweek.com. And as I said before, we are on Advent 3B, because this is the year B, and goes ABC, and this is the 3rd week of Advent. And so this is 2020. It roughly corresponds to the 2017 date. Okay, so let's get started. If anybody has requests, anything special they would like me to do, please let me know. Okay, Isaiah 61:1. Ruach Adonai Elohim alai, Ya'an Mashach Adonai, Oti levaser anavim shalachani, lachbosh nishbarei lev, likro lishvuim dror, ula'asurim pekach koach. Interesting. So this verse has a few peculiarities. So let's start with the spirit here. Word ruach, as normal, is written with bemilui, written fully with the vav there. It is in a construct form with 2 of the names of God. And so this is actually something that happens mostly in Nach. I'm not sure how many times it happens in the Torah itself, but we have the tetragrammaton, which is the 3rd word in this sentence. We obviously don't say as it is, and usually we will substitute the Shem Adnut, the name of literally lordliness, right? Adon kind of also means sir or master in the classic sense. the Shem Adonut is literally the it's the plural of the first person singular of Adon, which means master. So it's my masters, right? The master is plural, and it's in the first person singular. So my masters, right? And usually we do refer to God in the plural when we're talking Shem Adonut or Shem Elokut. Um, so what happens here is because the first word is actually the Shem Adonut itself, it is the name it is that name which we usually substitute for the Tetragrammaton. The Tetragrammaton then gets replaced with the Shem Elokut, right? Uh, the word God usually. So really this and they're trying to on Bible Hub they're trying to explain this by putting God in all caps the way Lord is put in all caps when it is substituting in for the Tetragrammaton. Of course, some people will actually attempt to um, say the Tetragrammaton itself, which we do not do in Judaism. If you're looking at the vocalization of the Tetragrammaton, you'll notice it's slightly different than the way it is usually when it, for example, further down the Tetragrammaton, where it is again pronounced as with the Shem Adonut, it gets vocalized one way, which is equivalent to the vocalization of Shem Adnut. But here, because it's going to be vocalized as Shem Elokut, it is being switched. So this is one big construct here, 3-word construct. And just to review, constructs are when two or more nouns are used together in Hebrew in order to give um, a particular meaning, right? So this is ruach, it is the spirit of Shamadnut, and then Havaya, right? Um, and it's said a little bit differently. So exactly what kind of spirit? If you are trying to find this in your concordance, um, I would actually stick to the places where we have the Shem Adnut being preceding the Tetragrammaton. Okay, so the Spirit of God in this particular manner of the combinations of names upon me, right? So this is a preposition al with the ayin, not aleph, and it's in the first person common singular, was upon me, right? So they're reading in the to be here. Not sure why they're capitalizing me. We'll take a look and see what they mean. Ya'an, I'm not sure we've had this before. Ya'an, uh, so the root that Ya'an comes from, and I did verify it with the concordance before we started, is Oneh, right? Ayin Nun He, which means to answer, but the word ya'an, it's become its own preposition or adverb, meaning because, for the reason of, um, but it's literally from the word answer. And it's pretty common. It's actually used in Arabic as well, and it's fallen into other languages. If you speak modern Hebrew, you will actually hear ya'ani a lot. Which is used to be that is to say, right? Anyway, so they're translating it as because. Mashach, so this is this is the verb of the root is mem shin het, which is anointing. Mashiach, right? Messiah, the word Messiah, which gets translated into the Greek as Christ, right? Uh, Ya'an mashach havaya oti, because God anointed me, right? It's in the Kal perfect third person masculine singular, right? Because God anointed mashach havaya, this the tetragrammaton. Ot is the direct object marker in the form of the first person common singular. So it's showing that the person who was anointed is me, right? Levaser. Uh, so prepositional lamed, and this is uh, bet sin resh in the infinitive form. Now, literally, this actually means incarnate. Basar is um, is flesh, but besurot are good tidings, right? So kol mevaser, we say in Jewish prayer a lot, a voice that that brings good tidings. But besurot, the root here is basar, which means flesh. So yeah, that's so there is this. Um, so God anointed Isaiah to give good tidings, to incarnate, and you can. I'm sure people will find that a place to exegetize, I guess. Anavim. So anav, they're translating as poor. Um, it is related to humble, right? Right, Numbers 12:3, the most the most famous verse with that word, where it says that that Moses was very humble, more humble than any man, right? So a poor, afflicted, humble, meek. Um, Levaser Anavim. I'm not sure I kind of agree with that. Levaser Anavim Shalahani. So to give good news to, I'm not sure where they get that to for, or the. There's no article on Anavim. Um, Either the poor or the humble, right? Levaser Anavim. I I kind of don't like that translation. We'll take a look and see how that gets translated, but um, there's no two there. Shalahani. The next word is the root is shin lamed het, which means to send out. A shliach is an agent. Shalahani means he sent me. The nun yud at the end is the first person common singular, right? So God sent me as his agent. Shalahani. Lahbosh. Again, we are on the infinitive with the prepositional lamed. This is written as usual without bechisaron, lacking. I am slightly so yeah. They're translating this to um, heal. Now, I don't want to get this confused with kivush with the chaf bet shin, right? Obviously, the root bet and shin um, are are kind of related, and words, if you're taking the two-letter word here, but this is not conquering. That's with a cuff. Um, yeah. So this actually, uh, right, to saddle, to bind. Yeah, in Genesis 22, Abraham saddles his donkey, right? Yahbosh. There is a relationship there with conquering, but this is with a het, not with a chaf, which is to conquer. Okay. Le nishbare. So they're translating that as to heal. Um, I would probably translate this maybe closer to bandage, maybe. Because the next word, len nishbare lev. So we have a prepositional lamed. Um, the root here is shin bet resh, which means to break. But it is in the nifal form, right? That's what the nun at the beginning is telling you, which is the passive form. So nishbar means broken, right? Shover means to break. Nishbarei lev, right? Nishbarim means the broken ones, and it's in the construct form with the word lev, meaning heart. Um, and if you're paying attention, the word heart shows up in two forms, one with two bets and one with one bet. And the, the interpretation rabbis generally give to the word lev when it is written with one bet instead of two is that it is referring to a more pure heart, whereas levav shows up in contexts where the evil inclination is kind of also present there. So nishbare lev, people whose pure heart has been broken. I would emphasize that more. But nishbare lev does show up, I believe, in multiple places. That particular the broken-hearted. Um, but it is in smichut. It is in a construct form. Likro, the root is gofresh aleph, very common verb to call or to read. Here they're translating it as to proclaim, has a prepositional lamed. It's in the infinitive form without above as usual. Lishvuim, again, prepositional lamed. Shavuim means captives. It is in the plural, and they are. It's in the kal passive participle of shin bet hey, right? To capture, right? And we had that in Genesis 14. But shvuyim are people who have been captured, and the hey kind of absconds there. It is written b'milui vav, which is normal. So lishvuyim, to proclaim, to call to the captives, drawer. And they're translating drawer as liberty. I'm a little surprised that drawer is written here b'milui. It's written fully with above. Drawer means it's actually a common modern Hebrew name. Um, means rest. The root. I mean, so the word dar means to live, to occupy. Like a dira is actually an apartment or a place where people live. Drawer is, they're saying liberty. I would probably more translate that as rest, right? To okay, we'll see how this gets translated. Vel asurim pekach koach, which is, okay, this is getting even more interesting. We have the conjunctive vav with lamed, um, prepositional lamed. Asur means bound, right? It also means forbidden. So to bind and to loose, right? Isur ve'heter, which is a very common theme within Judaism, to bind and to loosen, right? Asurim are people who are, again, kind of captives, people who are bound. Um, it is written ben milui vav and milui yod. I guess, yeah. I mean, I think that's usual. And then we have this very strange uh, construction here, pekach koach. Um, so pekach, the root pe gof het, um, it they're translating as opening of the prison. Pikeach ivrim um, is a common construction we have in the Hebrew, which means to allow the the blind to see. Right? Pakach means to open, and particularly we say pokeach is somebody with open eyes. Right? Um, Pakach koach. So I tried looking this up. This is the only time it shows up in the Bible. Um, it seems to kind of be going off of each other. And I was kind of surprised it's written with a milui vav, but it gets translated as opening of the prison. Obviously, it's very hard to make too many um, to because it is the only time it shows up in the Bible. It's kind of hard to say exactly what's going on, and partially, I mean, this is a very alliterative text. This is a very poetic text in the Hebrew, and it is it it is very very poetic in the Hebrew. So pekach koach, there is an element of poetry in using this uh, this term. Let's see how King James translates all of this. Verse 61, the Spirit of the Lord God, and you'll see Lord is not is not fully capitalized, whereas God is upon me. Mm, yeah, okay. Um, because the Lord hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound. Okay, I mean, I can see that. I'm not sure I would translate it exactly in that sense. Let's see. NIV, the Spirit of the Sovereign Lord. So, in order to go ahead and use Lord in its in the normal way that the Tetragrammaton is being used, they're translating Adonut Havaya as Sovereign Lord, which I think is one good way of doing it. Is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. Um, I prefer meek. Um, and I'm not sure I would say proclaim good news. Okay, maybe, yeah. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted. Okay. To proclaim freedom for the captives. Okay. And release from darkness for the prisoners. I actually prefer this, actually, because that the pikeach is something that we affiliate with seeing. Let's see what the note says. Um, Hebrew Septuagint, the blind. Okay. In fact, I mean, the Septuagint translating it as blind makes sense to me. Now, just one note I will make is when we are speaking about the Septuagint of Isaiah, we're just talking about random um, Greek translations. We're not talking about the actual Septuagint where the name comes from, the 70 elders or the 72 elders who did translate the Bible. Um, that was only the Pentateuch. That was only the five books of Moses. The Septuagint on the rest of the Bible are just translations. We're not precisely sure who exactly translated them. So some Hellenized Jew 2,000 years ago, or a bit more, went ahead and translated from the Hebrew to the Greek, and that's what we have. So when we refer to the Septuagint on Isaiah, just keep that in mind. It does not have the same canonicity, I would say, as the five books of Moses. Okay, let's see how Chabad translates this. The Spirit of the Lord God was upon me, since the Lord, Ya'an, so that's how they're translating Ya'an, since. Yeah, I like that. Since is good, or I mean, because since. The Lord anointed me to bring tidings to the humble. He sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to declare freedom for the captives, and for the prisoners to free from captivity. Okay, so let's see what Rashi says. Um, so Likro Dror, Rashi is saying, is tidings of the redemption, right? And the Pekach Koach, he's saying, open the imprisonment and their captivity and release them. Kind of wish the Hebrew was here for the Rashi. It's not. The Rashis here only have the English, unfortunately. Okay, let's go back to verse 61 to Likro shenat ratzon lahavaya vayom nacham leelokenu lenahem kol avelim. Interesting, and I believe this is where the reading actually starts. No, the reading does include verse 1 as well. Okay, so likro, prepositional lamed, kra is in the in infinitive, as we had in the previous verse, to call or read. Shnat ratzon, so here the word shana, year, is in the construct form with ratzon. They're translating as acceptable, year of ratzon lahavaya. So ratzon literally means will, right? And shanat ratzon would be, so we talk about et ratzon, right? A time of appeasing, actually. And shnat ratzon would be a year of usually we translate that as appeasing from the Hebrew. Ratzon is, it's so you may be familiar with the term Yehi Ratzon Lefanecha. It should be your will, God, which is the way a lot of prayers start in Judaism, and actually, I would say, your will be done, right? That would be in Hebrew would be Yehi Ratzon. It should be your will, right? That's the word Ratzon there. Prepositional lamed with the tetragrammaton, right? It is to God. It is a year of um, acceptability, I guess. Yeah, of I'm not sure exactly how I would translate that. We'll see what the translators do with that. Veyom nakam la Elokeinu. So this is a similar. I mean, it's a parallel construction. So conjunctive vav yom means a day. As always, it is with milui vav, written fully. Nakam nakama, right? And is vengeance, right? Nun kof mem. Um, so as the Kabbalists teach, actually, right? So the the Tetragrammaton is um, a, is a name of mercy, whereas Shem Elokut is a name of severity and judgment, right? And that's why judges actually get called Elohim, right? So Nakam leLokenu, right? So mercy for Havaya. It's a year of mercy for Havaya and a day of vengeance for our God. Right? It is in the first person collective plural, common plural. Sorry, and as is usual within Judaism, what refers to mercy is much longer than what refers um, to vengeance. So it's a year of almost want to translate that as mercy to our Lord and a day of vengeance to our God. Lenahem. So the prepositional lamed. This is the PL infinitive of nun het mem. Right. Nahum. Lenahem means to comfort, right? Kol avelim, kol meaning all, and avelim, and evel is a mourner, right? Aleph bet lamed is the root um, to mourn, and this is avelim, the people who are mourning, right? Interesting. Let's look at King James, verse 2. To proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord and the day of vengeance of our God. Not so happy with that. To comfort all that mourn. Okay, let's see what the NIV does this. To proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. I prefer that, yeah. And the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn. That's actually more literal than the King James in my view. Let's see, Chabad, to declare a year of acceptance for the Lord. So actually, they're doing um, more like the King James there, and a day of vengeance for our God to console all mourners. Okay. So far I've been trending NIV on these verses. Okay. Lasum la'avalei Tzion latet lahem pe'er tachat efer shemen sason tachat evel ma'ate tehila tachat ruach keha vekora lahem elei hatzedek mata havaya lehitpa'er. Interesting. So again, I have to note this is a very poetic text, and that there's a lot of similar construction. There's a lot of alliteration. There there um, there are a lot of similar words used in different ways. Specifically, pe'er and efer, right? Pe'er meaning beauty, efer meaning ashes, right? They're written. It's the exact same letters in different orders, right? So it's just switching up the letters, and you're getting beauty instead of ashes, right? So let's go through lasum. Prepositional lamed. The root here is sin yut mem, I would want to say, or sin vav mem. Sin. They're saying sin vav mem. Okay, to put. Sum or sim, right? Transliteration. Um, to place, to put, but here they're translating it um, as console. I do not like that. I would actually translate it as kind of to give, right? La avaletzion, right? So prepositional lamed. Um, that patach there is because of the aleph afterwards. There is no article there. Uh, Avelim, right? Tzion. And so this is a construct, mourners of Zion, right? Avelet Tzion, and actually, I believe this shows up many places in the Bible, but the mourners of Zion, right? It's one big construction. And we had Evel before. Tzion is the area around Jerusalem. Latet, prepositional lamed, the infinitive of to give, and latet is always a bit strange. What the exact root there is, I believe, is a nun, tough nun. Um, let's just check. Yeah, nun, tough nun. See, I get some things right. Latet lahem. So lasum laveletzion, to give. I would translate that as to give, not to console. By the way, well, we'll see what they do. Um, to give to the mourners of Zion, latet lahem pe'er tachat efer, right? To give to them, lahem, prepositional lamed, hem is the third person masculine plural pronoun, right? To them, pe'er tachat efer. Pe'er means beauty. Pe aleph resh. Efer means ashes. Aleph pe resh. And tachat means instead of here. It usually means under, but here it means instead of, right? To give one thing for another. So God is basically switching the efer to pe'er, right? Shemen sason tachat evel. So shemen, it means oil. It is in a construct form with sason, which is joy, right? Sin anun, I guess it is sason. Um, and I hope it's obvious that there is this alliteration here, but shemen sason, right? The oil of joy. Tachat, again, instead of evel, of mourning, right? That's just the noun uh, there. Ma'ateh tehillah. So the construction is between ma'ateh and tehillah. I'm not so sure about the word ma'ateh here. They're translating it as wrap or mantle. Apparently, only time it shows up is from atah, to wrap. Yeah, te otah. Oh, okay. Hmm. Well, we'll take a look. Apparently, it's the only time it shows up in the Bible, ma'ateh. But the root atiyah right, does show up otherwise in the Bible, in other places. Okay. Ma'ateh tehillah, a garment of praise. They're translating that thing. Tehillah is like Tehillim, Psalms, right? Tehillah is the singular, right? Also related to Hallel, right? Like we say Hallelujah, right? Tehillah is a praise or a song. Tachat, instead of, again, Ruach Keha. So this is again a construct, Ruach, with Keha. There's translating Keha as heaviness. I would actually, usually, I believe, darkness. Dim, dull, faint, yeah. Um, yeah, so faded, yeah, because, right, leprosy is often referred to as kehe, and you'll see that if you look up the Leviticus 13, uh, that keha shows up many times in Leviticus 13. Um, in fact, how many times is it showing up? In 13:6, 13:21, 13:26, 13:28, 13:39, and 13:56. Right? So out of the 9 times it shows up in the Bible, 6 of them are in Leviticus chapter 13. So I would look there if you want to further explicate what the spirit of keha is. I'm not sure I would say heaviness. Um, Okay, vekora lahem. So conjunctive of, and here kora is to call. They're saying in the pual form, and the pual is the intensive, um, is the intensive passive, I believe. Vekora lahem, and is called for them, or proclaimed for them, or read for them, lahem, them, Eile Hatzedek. So Ale is means something strong. Yeah, ram. I'm not sure why they translated. They changed Eile. Um, they're saying is an oak. Eile Hatzedek. Not sure why they're translating that as an oak as opposed to rams, but it has a connotation of strength, right? Um, Strong things of tzedek, and so there is that article there. As usual, in a construct, the article is on the last noun. Eleh Tzedek. Tzedek means righteousness, right? It's a common root. Tzaddik, Dalet, Qof, also means justice. Mata Havaya Lehitpaer. Oh, that's why they must be going. So Mata, actually, while it's not exactly related to Ma'ateh, it's using the same letters again, right? Ma'ateh is a mem ayin tet he, and mata is a mem tet ayin. So again, this is a very poetic text. It's a very obviously poetic text in the Hebrew, right? Mata netia, right, is the planting, and it is in a construct form with the tetragrammaton, lehitpaer, right, and so again, like we said, efer, right, is getting changed to pe'er, beauty, and this is the same root, pe ayin aleph resh, sorry. it is in the hitpa'el. This is the infinitive prepositional lamed and the infinitive of the hitpa'el, the reflexive, right? Um, so something with which God is glorifying Himself. This is the reflexive form of pe'er, of beauty. Let's see how this is getting translated. Verse 3, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. So they're translating keha as heaviness. I'm not sure I would do that. That they might be called trees of righteousness. Again, not precisely sure why they're translating ele, except in talking about, planting. So we are talking about planting. The planting of the Lord, that He might be glorified. Okay, see what the NIV does with this. And provide to those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes. Crown? Where'd they get crown from? No, not sure about that. The oil of joy instead of mourning, the garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. I like that better than darkness, but uh, I almost want to translate it as malady. We'll see. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord for the display of His splendor. Let's see if Chabad does something better. To place for the mourners of Zion, to give them glory instead of ashes, oil of joy instead of mourning, a mantle of praise instead of a feeble spirit. Yeah, I like feeble better there, especially because it has that connotation of sickness, right? And they shall be called the elms of righteousness. So, Rashi similarly is translating that as a tree. The planting of the Lord with which to glory. I don't like with which to glory. Let's see. Rashi says that the word ele is actually coming from ilan, right, which means a tree. And is actually referring all the way back to chapter 1, verse 29, Me'elim. And obviously he's saying the reason for that is because we are talking about planting. Okay. Okay, let's go to the next. Uvanu horbot olam shomemot rishonim yekomemu v'chidshu arei chorev shomemot dor vador. Interesting. Let's see if this rhymes with the previous sentence. Lehit pa'er and verse 2 is Elim and no pakach koach. Again, as I said before, this is a very poetic. These are very poetic verses, right? And we have a lot of repetition here, a lot of similar constructs, right? So uvanu, and so conjunctive vav, and this is the conjunctive perfect, right? Vanu, So it's getting flipped in context from the past tense to the future. And they shall build. The root here is libnot, bet nun hey, to build. Chorbot. So cherev, the root het resh bet, is actually the same root as a sword and destruction. Charava is a ruin, right? A ruined city. So they're going to build up the ruins, right? Chorbot olam, and this is written b'milui vav, which is to be expected. So Chorvot, the ruins. Olam means eternal, right? But here, I guess, I mean, I agree with them. They're saying Chorvot Olam are things which are very old ruins, right? It is in a construct form, Chorvot and Olam. Shomemot Rishonim. So Shmema is again like destroyed or desolate, right? Shin Mem Mem. In I think Lamentations uses that word to great effect. Let's see, Shemem. Leviticus. Chronicles. Job uses it many times, it seems. Psalms. It shows up 86 times. If I remember correctly, it is in Lamentations. Let me see. Jeremiah. Yeah, Lamentations 1:4, 1:16, 4:5, 5:18. Yeah. So, Shamem, desolate. Yeah, they're translating. And shows up in Daniel many times, right? So it is, if you want to look in your concordance, that is something that shows up many times. Okay, Shomemot, written Bechisaron Vav at the beginning, Milui Vav at the end, in case you're keeping track. This is the things that are desolate, right? They're saying the desolations. I, it is obviously just a parallel construct. Shomemot Rishonim and Chorbot Olam, right? So the ruins of old and the desolate things, cities, I would actually probably buildings maybe. Rishonim, written Bechisaron Yod Milui Vav, and then Chisaron Vav and Milui Yod. If you're keeping track, the first two letters are lacking. The last letter is full. I kind of would have expected at least a Yod or a Vav there, because in the consonantal text. Um, I guess, I mean, that there's the nun there, but Rosh, and I mean, it is related to Rosh, meaning beginning, but the Rishoni means the first ones, right? They're translating as former, the beginning ones. Shomemot Rishonim, the desolate things of the first ones, right? Yekomemu, right? So this the root is Qof mem, which is related to Qof vav mem, and in fact they're saying, yeah, this is a little bit of a strange stem here. It's a I guess it's called a Katalel. I mean, um, yeah, it's a root polel, I think, where two of the roots are repeated. Um, well, the third root gets repeated again, right? Yakomemu. And it comes from establish or to raise, rise. right? Um, it's in the imperfect. It shall be caused to rise up, right? Um, so, yeah, they shall build the ruins of the ancients and the shomemot of the Rishonim, the desolate things of the first ones, yikomemu. Right? I mean, this is a very parallel construction here. I hope that's being clear. That's clear. V'chidshu arei horeb. Conjunctive of the root here is het bet dalad ushin, which means new. It is refer. It is. It does refer to the moon, right? When we talk about the new moon, right? A chodesh is a month. The chitshu, and they shall. I would not translate it as repair. I would translate it as a renew. Are chorev. So with the ayin means a city. Arim is cities. This is in the construct form with the word horev written without the vav. So again, like Haraba, so the ruined cities, Are Horev, the cities of ruin, the cities that have been ruined, and Shomemot, right? So it's in the here Shomemot again, just like we had before, right? So we have a lot of repetition. Harba, Horev, Shomemot twice, Dor Vador. And if you'll remember, we previously had drawer, right? And here we have door. Dor means a generation. Dor Vador is upon many generations. This is Dor Vador is actually a very common construct. Um, a lot of synagogues actually have on them written the Dor Vador from generation to generation, right? Door. Um, Things that have been desolate for many generations. Okay, let's see how this is getting translated. Um, 61:4. And they shall build the old wastes. I would translate it as ruins. They shall raise up the former desolations, okay? And they shall repair, I would translate that as in renew, the waste cities, the desolations of many generations, okay? NIV, they will rebuild the ancient ruins, okay, and restore the places long devastated, okay. They will renew the ruined cities that have been devastated for generations. I like the NIV better there. Chabad. And they shall build the ruins of old and the desolations of the first ones. Do like them using the first ones there. Because it does talk about the Rishonim. They shall erect, and they shall renew ruined cities, desolations of all generations. Dor vador, I guess all generations. Yeah, you could say that. Or many generations. It's up to you. Okay, let's keep on going. Next verse. V'amdu zarim v'ra'u tzonchem uvnei nechar ikarechem v'chormechem. Huh, interesting. So conjunctive vav. This is the root is ein mem daled, which means to stand, right? Amidah is the standing prayer. Or an amud is a pillar actually. So amdu, right, and it is being flipped there. The conjunctive of is flipping it from the perfect to the imperfect. Zarim, so a zar is so an h zar, right, a strange fire. So zarim are strangers, outsiders, foreign, right? So the um, so the strangers shall stand, okay, or the foreigners will stand. Vera'u tzonchem. So they're translating ra'u as feed. I would translate. I mean, ro'eh resh ein hey is a shepherd. I would translate that as shepherd, not vera'u, and they shall. So it is being flipped from the perfect to the imperfect. It's in the third person common plural, um, just like umdu is right. We're talking about the strangers. So the strangers shall tzand and shepherd or watch over, right? Tzo'onchem. So tzon is flock, right? Tzaddik aleph nun, written without a vav as you would expect. Tzo'onchem, yours, second person masculine plural, right? All y'alls. Uvene nehar, so conjunctive vav, this is ben, children, right? Son, in the plural form, in the construct form with nehar, right? So nehar means foreigner. It is related to kore, which means to recognize. The, this is with a chaf, right? Nehar. Chafresh, hey, things that are not recognized. I would, that's what I would say. Nehar means ikarechem. So interesting here. It's obviously being, it's using it because it's similar letters. I'm not sure where aleph, chaf, resh shows up in other places. It does. It shows up 7 times in the Bible referring to farmers. In Jeremiah, Isaiah, mostly in Jeremiah it seems. Joel, Amos. Okay. Plowman, husbandman, in the Aramaic, it's Ibar. Okay. Huh. Interesting. Okay. It's being used because it is so similar with Nehar, right? And Hormechem. So a kerem is it's a vineyard, right? Hormechem, right? The root is chaf mem resh mem, right? And a chorem is somebody who they're translating vine dresser, somebody who makes vineyards, right? The hormechem. No vav at the beginning. All y'all's vineyard dressers, right? Um, yeah. The root there is chaf resh mem. Again, very, very alliterative, repetitious, and poetic text. Verse 5, and strangers will stand and feed your flocks. I would say watch your flocks. And the sons of the alien shall be your plowmen and your vine dressers. Okay. NIV. Strangers will shepherd your flocks. Yes, I prefer that. Foreigners will work your fields and vineyards. I kind of like that. NIV is doing well in this thing. Let's see. And strangers shall stand and pasture your sheep. Okay. And foreigners shall be your plowmen and vine dressers. Okay. Yeah, so far I've been liking how the NIV does it. Ve'atem kohanei havaya tikra'u misharte Elokeinu ya'amer lachem chayil goyim tochelu uvichvodam tityamaru. We actually did this verse recently, but I didn't go in exact detail like we will here. So The atem, so conjunctive vav, atem is all y'all in the second person masculine plural, right? And you are Kohane Havaya. So Kohen is a priest. Kohane is in the construct form of the plural Kohanim, right? You are the priests of God, right? This is the Tetragrammaton, obviously. Tikra'u, tikareu, you shall be called, right? This is the nifal. Nifal is the passive, imperfect, right? Tikareu, you shall be called. Vatem kohanei havaya tikareu, yeah, you shall go. Misharte Elokeinu Ya'amer. So lesharet, right? Shin resh tough means to serve. It might even have to do with being a cupbearer, I believe. Um, Shows up in Genesis 39. Yeah, with regarding to Joseph, I thought so. To minister, to attend. Not sure why I thought that a misharet is a cupbearer. Talks about the Levites. You can I mean, this does show up many times in the Bible, 97 times. You can look in your concordance if you like. To minister, yeah, I guess a minister might be the best way to translate it, because servants usually I think of abadim, and this is a different root here. And it is in a PL. It is in intensive, as Misharet always is. Misharte Elokeinu, the the ministers, I would translate it as, of our God, right? This is the Shem Elohim in the first person common plural, right? Of our God. Ye'amer. So this is the nifal of Aleph Mem Resh, to say, right? And unlike that, we say that Amar is a less harsh form than Daber, right? Dalet Bet Resh. So Amer, you shall be called, they shall say, Lachem, about you, to you. Prepositional Lamed, and Lachem is the second person masculine plural. Chel Goyim, so Chel is the riches, they're translating. Yeah, I mean, you can look in your concordance. It is in the construct form with Goyim, the nations. Generally, our rule is that if it is singular, it is actually referring, the word goy in the singular refers to the nation of Israel, and in the plural refers generally to the other nations. Tochelu, the root is aleph chaf lamed, which means to consume, right? It says the sneh, the bush was burning, but it was not consumed. It's a very common root. You shall eat, right? It's in the imperfect second person masculine plural, right? Chel goyim. So the riches of the nations you shall eat, you shall consume. Uvichvodam tit yamaru. So conjunctive of prepositional bet, kavod chaf bet dalid. Glory is usually how it's translated. I like using the word gravitas because it does connote a heaviness. It's written bemilui vav, with that vav completely, which is a little strange. Uvichvodam, and in their glory, tit yamaru. Now, this is the only time this shows up in the Bible, and I did not really agree with Strong's Concordance, where they're trying to say that yamar is a sort of So they're saying yud mem resh is a new root of sorts, and they're saying perhaps to exchange. I actually want to say that this is like temura, right? Which is um, something that is well, I guess in exchange, but mem resh hey, I think the root there is. Um, it is in the reflexive though, right? We talk about al hageula ve al hatemura regarding redemption and regarding the, I guess, hoax you would say. Um, that people, also it's used by the when we talk about the sin of the golden calf, right? That they made a temura, that they made an idol. Um, Exchange. I mean, we'll see the translations. Not a huge fan of the translation. I think boast they use. Let's look at the translations here. Verse 6, but ye shall be named the priests of the Lord. Men shall call you the ministers of our God. Ye shall eat the riches of the Gentiles, and in their glory shall ye boast yourselves. I don't like that boasting, right? Possibly, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how other people do it, but I'm I actually want to say that it's more of a um, kind of clothe yourself. We'll see. And you will be called the priests of the Lord. You will be named ministers of our God. You will feed on the nation, the wealth of the nations. I prefer consume, eat, consume. And in their riches you will boast. I don't like that boast there. Chabad 6. Excuse me. Uh, and you shall be called the priests of the Lord, servants of our God shall be said of you, the possessions of the nations you shall eat, and with their glory you shall succeed them. And Rashi similarly says it comes from Temurah, right? Enter in their stead. And you can read the Rashis if you would like. Yeah. תחת בושתכם משנה וכלימה ירונו חלקם לכם בארצם משנה ירשו שמחת עולם תהיה להם. Interesting. Okay. Tachat boshtechem. So tachat means instead of. We had that several times before, right? Bosh is a shame, right? Boshet is shame, but boshtechem, your all y'all's shame. Mishneh. So they're saying you shall have double honor. I mean, Mishneh means repetition. It comes from the root Shnaim, right? So two, right? Mishneh is a double, right? I guess double portion maybe, but they're saying double honor. Um, we use Mishneh a lot, like for example in the Mishneh Torah. I'm not sure how many times it gets used in the Bible itself. It seems quite a bit, 35 times. Yeah, Mishneh. You can use your. It means a doubling, right? A copy, a second, and you can use your concordance if you like. Uchlima. So chlima, they're translating as confusion. I'm not sure I like that. Chlima is again kind of like shame, right? Scandal, I would say. Uh, Insult, reproach, ignominy. Limati. Right, so Job talks about Chlima. Yeah, it does show up many times in the Bible. You can look 30 times. Um, I, I don't like confusion. I would probably translate that as scandal, yaronu. So Rina is, I guess, reshmagnun means rejoicing, but usually we say it's like a shouting, right? Because like it says in the Psalms, uh, Mlo pinu rina, right? It's a singing, I would say, and like uchlima yaronu, and the scandals in kind of like will be things that you would say. Yeah, that's how I would translate it. You will happily talk of the scandal, right? Um, Interesting. Chelkam. This is in the imperfect third person masculine plural. Yaronu. Um, yeah. Chelkam lachem be'artzam. So, lachem. Oh, uchlema yaronu chelkam. Not. I kind of wish I knew the cancellations here because I'm not sure where exactly to put the commas. Chelkam means their portion. Chelek means a portion, a piece, right? Chet lamed of. Chelkam is their portion. Lachen, therefore, be'artzam mishne yirashu. Okay, so that's where I would put the commas there. Chelkam lachen be'artzam mishne yirashu. Interesting. Lachen means therefore. Um, yeah, I think it's pretty clear that that's what it means there. Bet artsam, so prepositional bet, eretz means land. The suffix there is the third person masculine plural. So in their land, right? Therefore, in their land, mishne yirashu. So mishne, again, like we said, a double portion. Yerushu, and a Yerusha is an inheritance. They're saying that they shall possess. Tachat boshtechem mishne uchlima yaronu chelkam lachen be'artzam mishne yerashu simchat olam tihye lahem. Interesting. So maybe I mean that after that lachen, so it's saying, so this is I mean, in the eschatological um, explanation of Maimonides and other rabbis, it does kind of, it talks about how people shall happily um, provide for the temple and for Jerusalem, and that's that's what it's saying, right? It's saying that not only um, are what used to be, right, boshet uchlima, right, scandal and shame, are going to become joyous things, but even the goyim, the nations in their own lands, right, they are receiving a double portion, right? Mishne Yerashu, they shall possess. I should say um, they would inherit. Simchat olam. So simcha is obviously joy from sameach, sin mem chet, and simhat is in the construct form with olam, an eternal, everlasting joy. Simchat olam. Tihyeh lahem shall be for them, right? Um, so um, it's not one of these things where, God forbid, good things happen to Israel and everybody else is dispossessed, but also for them in their own land they shall have an everlasting joy. I like that. Tihia is the verb to be in the imperfect third person feminine singular. Lahem, to them, right? Prepositional lamed and then hem. Okay, interesting. Let's look at King James verse 7. For your shame you shall have double, and for confusion they shall rejoice in their portion. So they're putting the comma, right? Yaronu chelkam. And then they're putting the comma after chelkam in their portion. They shall rejoice in their portion. I that's that's not how it seems to me. Although unfortunately, I would really love to see the cancellations on these verses. I am not really good about the cancellations. Yeah, it seems. Yeah, it seems that that is how it's cancellated. Right. So there, Chabad is also they're putting a semicolon before the lachen. Okay. I will have to defer to their better understanding of the cancellations because I am so amusical. I was never really able to uh, learn the cancellations, unfortunately. Um, so, um, therefore, in their land they shall possess the double. Everlasting joy shall be unto them. Um, I would be very very careful about who you are and who they are, right? Mishneh uchlima yaranu chalkam. Interesting. Let's see what the NIV does with this. Verse 7. Instead of your shame, you shall receive a double portion, and instead of disgrace, you will rejoice in your inheritance. No. Yaronu chelkam. Uh, that's not in the second person. That's in the third person. So definitely going with the King James here. They are switching. Uh, they are switching you and them, and yeah, no. And so you will inherit a double portion in your land. No. And so you will inherit a double portion in your land, and everlasting joy will be yours. No. Bad NIV. Bad NIV. Bad NIV. Let's see what Chabad does. Instead of your shame, which was twofold, and your disgrace, which they would bemoan as their lot. Hmm. Therefore, in their land they shall inherit twofold. They shall have everlasting joy. I'm going to read this Rashi. This, which was twofold. Even they would constantly bemoan that their disgrace as their lot. That is to say, that instead of until now my people were constantly bemoaning disgrace, their lot, there are instances of arena that is an expression of mourning. So he's saying that it's not joy. In Lamentations 2:19 and 1 Kings 22:36. Huh. So let's see. למה ירון חלקם, לכן בארצם משנה ירשו, שמחת עולם תהיה להם. למה ירון חלקם. So the chlima, and apparently Rashi is also translating as being the scandal of Israel's scandal. I definitely don't like the NIV. Interesting. So, I mean, my question is the chlima, the scandal. Whose scandal are they going to talk about? Yaranu Chalkam. Yeah, actually, I would say that's Israel's scandal. They're going to joyously say. Well, he's saying mourning. I'm not sure about that. Yaronu Chalkam. I guess maybe there's an element of both. Lachen. Ultimately, I mean, this is a very joyous passage for everyone, both Israel and the nations. Let's keep on going. Verse 8. Ki ani havaya ohev mishpat sone gazel be'ola venatati pe'ulatam be'emet ubrit olam echrot lahem. Interesting. Huh. Interesting. Very interesting. So, ki means it's a preposition. They're saying conjunction for, with, because of. Ani is the first person common singular. It's the less formal. Anochi being the more formal. Because I am the Lord, right? This is the Tetragrammaton. Ohev mishpat, one who loves justice, right? So ohev is the root is aleph hey bet, which means to love, right? And this is the participle. I would translate that as I am the Lord who loves justice. Mishpat comes from the root shin pei tet, which is the root of a judge, right? Shofet. The book of the Judges is Shoftim, right? And I love judgment, maybe justice, judgment. Justice. Oftentimes, I mean, people talk about tzedek. So okay. Soneh means to hate. Sin nun aleph. Soneh gazel ba'olah, who hates. So gezela, gimel zayin lamed, is to steal a thing, as opposed to ganeva, which which implies mugging, right? It's geneva, which is in the Ten Commandments, not gezela. Gezela is stealing of objects as opposed to people kidnapping. So who hates robbery? Thievery, maybe. I mean, in Jewish law, gezela is particularly when no person is involved in that thing, where you're not endangering human lives, you're just taking things, right? So a korban olah is, like they're saying, a burnt offering, comes from the root ayin lamed hey, which means to rise, to raise, right? Aliyah means to go up to, for instance, the mountain of God. or the land of Israel. Uh, Prepositional bet olah is a burnt offering because it's an offering that's brought and completely burned, right? And it is bemilui vav with the vav there. So God who hates robbery uh, for burnt offering. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think basically, I mean, God is saying He doesn't want sacrifices that are coming from a bad place, from not being a a righteous sacrifice. I think pe'ulatam. So the root here is pe'ain lamed, which you will recognize being the root, which the various forms are all in, means work or to do, right? Pe'ulatam, their work, um, and it's written in the Bechisaron Vav, uh, which isn't strange, but yeah. Pe'ulatam, their work, be'emet, and that's they in the plural, right? Their work, pe'ulatam. Be'emet, in truth, right? Emet meaning truth, prepositional bet. Uvrit olam. So conjunctive vav, brit means covenant. Olam means everlasting. Echrot lahem. So the root here is chaf resh taf, which means to cut, right? To cut a covenant, right? Kirut koret brit, right? I will make an everlasting covenant, lahem, for them. So basically, I mean, it seems pretty clear. God is saying, I am going to deal with the nations also justly, right? Everyone's going to get what they deserve in terms of good, right? Um, let's see how King James does verse 8. For I, the Lord, love judgment. I hate robbery for burnt offering, and I will direct their work in truth. Direct their work in truth? Venatati. Oh, okay. And I shall make Venatati polatam be'emet. See, I'm not sure that's how I would translate it. I would say that I am. I would more translate that as uh, I am. I will pay their. I will pay their wages truly. That's the more figurative translation I would give that. We'll see. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them. Yeah, that part. NIV. For I, the Lord, love justice. I hate robbery and wrongdoing. Uh, no, I would not and wrongdoing. I would say I hate robbery in holy things, in sacrifices, right? That is the olah we were talking about. In my faithfulness, I will reward my people. I like the word reward, right? My people? Not sure. My people. Um, and make an everlasting covenant with them. I don't like that my people there. Okay. For I am the Lord who loves justice, hates robbery in a burnt offering, and I will I gave their wage in truth, and an everlasting covenant I will make for them. Yes. Although Rashi apparently here he gives two interpretations. The wage of Israel, which shall be in truth. Alternatively, I will give the reward of their deeds they performed, for they suffered the derisions of the heathen nations. uh, for my honor in truth. So Rashi here is switching the they from Israel to the nations. Mm, that is a very different way of reading it. Yeah. So, yeah, that is a very different way of reading it. כי אני הוויה אוהב המשפט שונא גזל בעולה ונתתי פעולתם באמת וברית עולם אכרות להם. You're going to have to decide if the they has switched here from Israel to the nations, from the nations to Israel or not. I can see it both ways, but and actually that's how the NIV is doing it as well. Uh, you know, I almost feel like it shouldn't matter because God is going to do justice with everyone, but it's a very different way of reading these verses. Okay, verse 9. ונודע בגויים זרעם וצאצאיהם. I always had problems with צאצאים. It's offspring. Yeah. בתוך העמים כל רואיהם יכירום כי הם זרע ברך הוויה. Interesting. ונודע בגויים זרעם וצאצאיהם בתוך העמים כל רואיהם יכירום כי הם זרע ברך הוויה. Interesting. So, actually, I mean, eschatologically, the Rambam says, because I kind of, did look this up, what is going to happen to, right, Mishpacha Shenitma'a, right, and Maimonides says that a family which either, a Jewish family which fell in with the Gentiles or the other way around, it's going to stay that way. But that's not how this is reading to me, right? It says venoda and shall be known, right? Conjunctive vav. Noda is the nifal form of yada, right? The root is yud dalid hey, to know, right? I mean yud dalid ayin, to know. This is the knowing, right? As in Adam knew his wife. Sorry about the ambulances going by. So noda, right, shall be known, and this is something that's used a lot. Noda Yehuda, right, and noda bagoyim, in the nations. That is, the preposition of bet does have an article there. Goyim, the nations. They're translating um, um, Gentiles. Zar So this is definitely switching the they. It's talking about Israel in the third person. Zar'am, their descendants. Zera is seed, right? Zayin resh ayin. Shall be known among the nations, their seed. V'tze'etzaehem. I always had problems with this word tze'etzaehem. I don't know how many times this shows up in the Bible. I think it comes. The real root is from Yetziah, right? I would say Yud Tzaddik Aleph, being meaning to come out, right? Hamotzi, right? But it is, well, I mean, it's used 11 times in the Bible talking about uh, offspring, right? Um, that which cometh forth out from Yatzah. See, so Strong's seems to agree with me that that this is also from Yatzah. So fruits almost maybe offspring produce, yeah, issue. Um, yeah, it comes from Yatzah, I would say. V'tze'etzaehem, and their offspring, their produce, their children. Betoch, so prepositional bet, toch means in the midst of, among, right? Ha'amim, the people, so is a nation, right? In Arabic, it's also, I mean, they talk about the ummah, right? Amim is, so goyim, amim, similar, uh, talking about nations. Kol ro'ehem, so kol means all, it's in the construct form. Um, the root here is resh aleph hey, meaning to see. Ro'ehem are people who see them, right? Kol ro'ehem, written bechisaron vav, without with the vav lacking there. All who see them, yakirum. So, like we said before, right? And nechar means strange. Heker, right? Hey, chaf resh means to recognize, right? Shall recognize them. Yakiru. It's in the hefil imperfect, right? The root is hey, chaf resh to acknowledge, to recognize. I usually translate it as recognize. Shall recognize them. All who see them shall recognize them. Yeah, yekirum, right? Both is third person masculine plural, right? So both the suffix and the conjugation of the verb. Ki, because that, hem, they, and as they indicate, the pronoun there is being used as the present tense of the verb to be. Zera berach havaya. Um, hmm. I almost want to say that this is one big construction, right? Uh, the I I almost want to say the fruit of God's blessing, but that's not the morphology that Bible Hub has here. So they're saying zera is just a noun, berach is the perfect of the PL, right? To bless, bet resh chaf, havaya obviously is the tetragrammaton. So they're translating it as the seed that was blessed by God. God, the tetragrammaton. Seems to me like that could be one big smichut, one big construct of seed, blessing, and God, right? The seed of the blessing of God, or the produce, I would probably say, of the they're translating as prosperity. Let's see how the translators do. Verse 9, and their seed shall be known among the Gentiles, and their offspring among the people. All that see them shall acknowledge them. They are the seed which the Lord hath blessed. NIV, their descendants will be known among the nations, and their offspring among the peoples. All who see them will acknowledge them, that they are a people the Lord has blessed. Okay, let's see if what Chabad does with this. And their seed shall be known among the nations, and their offspring among the peoples. All who see them shall recognize them, that they are seed that the Lord blessed. They're all translating it the same way. So who am I to disagree? Although it does seem to me Zera Berach Havaya seems like it's a one big construction to me. Kihem Zera Berach Havaya. it reads differently to me than how it's being translated by everyone else. And that samech there is a punctuation which tells you that if you look into the scroll, there should be what's called a setuma, which is a closed break. So the paragraph here would an open break. The paragraph break goes until the end of the sentence, whereas in a closed break, the paragraph is just in the middle of. I mean, the break is just in the middle of um, that line, and it's not a full break. Okay, verse 10. Sos asis abahavaya tagel nafshi belokai ki hilbishani bigdei yesha meil tzedakah yatayani kechatani yachahen pe'er v'chakala ta'alte cheleha. So this is interesting because it is very similar to the blessings we use at the canopy, right? So sasis, right? So this is sason, right? To celebrate, right? And it's being repeated, right? The repetition in the Hebrew is an emphatic, right? Sos asis, that's in the first person common singular of asis. I will greatly rejoice. I will sos asis. I will joy. I will celebration. I shall celebrate. I guess. Bahavaya. So prepositional bet, and that is the tetragrammaton. So I will greatly rejoice in God. Tagel nafshi. So this is they're calling it the jusive. It's the third person feminine singular command of tagel, right? And Gila, the root is Gimel Yud Lamed, right? To rejoice. Yeah. Um, it kind of means to leap, right? Yagil, to jump up. I know there are places where it says like the hills skip, right? Um, yeah, so you can use your concordance there, right? Tagel nafshi, my soul shall, well, be joyful, shall dance. I almost want to translate it. Be Elokai, in my God, right? It is in the plural, but obviously we're talking about God. All right, my God. Um, so it's tagel in the feminine because nefesh is in the feminine. Nefesh is one of the ways we refer to the soul. Nafshi meaning my soul. So um, I will rejoice in Havaya. Right again. Um, that's the more inner aspect, the more merciful aspect of God, whereas Elokai is the more external and more justice related name, right? So I will, I hope it's obvious what's going on here, which is that the soul here and then the nefesh is the more external and physical aspect, right? So the first part is more spiritual, the second part is more material, right? In the Shem Elokut with the name that is used as opposed to the Tetragrammaton, and also being in the third person instead of in the first person. Ki hilbashti, right? So Ki meaning because is a conjunction or for, right? Hilbashti, so this is the root is a lamed bet shin, which means to clothe, right? This is in the Hefil, Hilbashani, sorry, Hilbashani. So he dressed me, right? Um, both in the singular. He dressed me. Big day yesha. So a beged is a cloth or a garment, right? Bigdei yesha. So begadim is the plural. If this is in the construct with yesha, right? Yud shin ayin, which means which means salvation, right? So the garments of salvation, right? He dressed me with the garments of salvation. Hilbashani, Hilbishani, bigdei yesha. Me'il, which is in modern Hebrew, it's a coat, a robe. They're saying me'il it is the over covering, right? Uh, tzedakah, a robe of righteousness, a coat, a mantle. Probably use mantle. Mantle of tzedakah, of righteousness. Uh, the root is tzadik daled kof. Ya'atani, right? And this is the same atiyah which we had before, which is garment, right? Ya'atani, he has covered me. Ein yud ein tet, right? We had this in a previous verse. This particular root, Ya'atani, he has dressed me, covered me. Ke hatan, prepositional chaf. They're saying with an article, which I can believe because hatan starting with a guttural always has weird punctuations. Hatan being a bridegroom, right? So in Hebrew, Hatan is the groom and Kala is the bride. Kehatan Yachahen. So the root is Chaf He Nun, which means to be a priest, to minister, I guess. Yechahen, they're saying decks himself. I would actually probably translate this as serve. Yechahen pe'er. Yeah, I mean, so this is the same root as kohen, which means priest, right? Yechahen pe'er shall serve. I would translate that as serve. It's an imperfect third person masculine singular. Pe'er, beauty, which we talked about before, instead of afar, right? So this is again reckoning back to the earlier verse which talked about atiyah and afar, right? This instead of that. Ta'adeh v'chakala ta'adeh chaleha. So, conjunctive of, prepositional chaf, kala means a bride, and this is with an article, right? So, and as the bride, actually, um, yeah, I would probably switch these a's as thes, um, and as the bride. Ta'adeh, so edanim are is it ornament or yi'ud, to pass on, advance. Ma'adeh, finery. Adonim, a primitive root to advance, pass on, or continue, causatively to remove, specifically to bedeck, bring an ornament upon, adorn, deck, pass by, take away. It shows up 10 times in the Bible. Yeah, you can use your concordance there, but to adorn, yeah. Cheleha. So a kli is a vessel, is any type of utensil, but obviously here chaleha is talking. They're translating as jewels, right? Her utensils, but obviously here, first of all, um, I hope the alliteration is really clear all through here, right? But so kala means bride, chaleha her utensils, her jewels, right? This is a very poetic text for the billionth time. Let's look at King James. I will rejoice in the Lord. I will greatly rejoice in the Lord. My soul shall be joyful in my God. For he hath clothed me with the garments of salvation. He hath covered me with the robe of righteousness, as a bridegroom decketh himself with ornaments, and as a bride adorneth herself with her jewels. Okay. Okay. NIV. I delight greatly in the Lord. My soul rejoices in my God. For he has clothed me with garments of salvation and arrayed me in a robe of his righteousness. His righteousness? Tzedakah. I would not put that his there. As a bridegroom adorns his head like a priest. No. Bad NIV. No, I don't think that's what is going on here at all. Ya'atani kechatan yachahen pe'er. So they're saying pe'er is like a head ornament, and ooh, no. I don't like this. We'll see what Chabad does with this. And as a bride adorns herself with her jewels. Chaleha, yeah, her jewels. It is definitely hers. Let's see what Chabad does with this. I will rejoice with the Lord. They didn't do greatly. My soul shall exult that with my God, for he has attired me with garments of salvation, with a robe of righteousness he has enwrapped me, like a bridegroom who priest-like dons garments of glory. Okay? And like a bride who adorns herself with her jewelry. Um, Kechatan yachahen pa'er. Huh. See, I want to translate that as the groom serves beauty, or attends to beauty, maybe. And as the bride, glories. It's difficult. This is a very poetic text, and honestly, the most faithful translation, in my opinion, would be the most poetic one, because there is such alliteration in this text, and it's completely missed when you translate it from one language to the other, I would say. Okay, let's look at the last verse. Ki haaretz totzi tzimcha v'chagana zerueha tatzmiach ken Shem Adnut, right? My God, my Lord. Elohim. So again, just like we had in the first verse, right? So it's the same situation where we said ruach adnut havaya. So therefore, the havaya was read Elokim, right? We use the shem Elokut instead of the tetragrammaton. Same thing here. Um, let's go back to the beginning. I'm sorry. Okay, ki because haaretz, right? So prepositional chaf with the article aretz, meaning land, like as the earth. Totsi. So this is the hefil form, imperfect. Shall bring out, right? From yetzia, right? From to bring out. This is in the hefil, it's in the causative. Shall cause to come out, right? Hamotzi, right? But this is totzi. And it's in the feminine because eretz is feminine. Tzimha, so tzemach is a sprout, right? Tzedek mem tzadi mem het. Tzimha is her buds, its sprouts, right? V'chagana uchagana. So conjunctive of prepositional chaf. Gan is a garden. Gana, I guess it's a more diminutive form of a garden. As a garden, there is no article there. I don't know why they're doing as the garden. Um, like I would translate as a garden. Zerueha. So this is so a zerua, right? The root is a zayin resh ayin, which is seed, but a zerua is something that has been sown, right? The things that are sown in it, zerueha, the things, and it is in the plural, her things which have been. So garden is usually gan is usually in the masculine, but here it's in the feminine. Um, zerueha, tatzmiach, exact same root, right? Tzadik mem het, but here it is in the hefil. It is in the causative of the imperfect, right? So like totzi, and this is tatzmiach, right? So the things that were sown within the garden shall be caused to sprout. Ken, so in that manner, um, Shamadnut, right? My Lord. And I don't like how it's the Lord. I would prefer. I mean, this is possessive. My God, my Lord, my God. This is the Tetragrammaton. Obviously, it's not um, vocalized the same as the Tetragrammaton. Obviously, uh, usually is. Yatzmiach, exact same thing, except now it's in the masculine as tatzmiach, right? Shall cause to sprout. Tzedakah, righteousness, with utehila, and praise. Again, we've had the same word tzedakah and tehillah several times. Neged, right? Neged means in front of or opposed to, right? Like we in Genesis where it says that God makes an ezer kenegdo, right? He makes a helpmate like unto him, right? It's the same neged, right? Kol hagoyim, uh, before all, right? Goyim with the article, all of the nations. Okay, let's see how this is being translated. Uh, For as the earth bringeth forth her bud, and as the garden causeth the things that are sown in it to spring forth, so the Lord God, and they did the same thing as they did last time with their Lord and God, putting God in the um, in in the capitals the way they do Lord, because that's where the Tetragrammaton is, will cause righteousness and praise to spring forth before all the nations. Okay, NIV. For as the soil makes the sprout come up and a garden causes seeds to grow, so the sovereign Lord will make righteousness and praise spring up before all the nations. And Chabad's translation, for like the earth which gives forth its plants, and like a garden that causes its seeds to grow. Zerueha, yeah, things that are sown in it, its seeds, I guess. So shall the Lord God cause righteousness and praise to grow opposite all the nations. Um, I instead of growth, I would probably do sprout there. Um, yeah, and the NIV did the same sovereign Lord thing before. So hopefully, people will find this useful. As always, I will end with Zephaniah 3:9, which says, Ki az epoch el amim, safa berura likro chulam b'shem havaya le'ovdo shchem echad. Therefore I shall restore to the nations a pure language, so that all of them shall be able to call in the name of the Lord and to serve him together with one accord. Shalom.